Hi guys, I'm Tiffany. Welcome to my channel. This is my first video in the new year 2023. Welcome to the new year, and now welcome to the poetic world. The poems from many poets are precious treasures because they all have significant meanings. And today I'm gonna introduce the poetry collection from a famous poet named Shelley. If you have never heard of the poet Shelley, you may know the author of the science fiction book Frankenstein, who is called Mary Shelley. Interestingly, the two Shelley had a relationship because they were a couple, so they could give each other some creative inspiration. For example, because Percy Shelley had some strange dreams and illusions, he told Mary, and Mary had the inspiration to create Frankenstein. Also, in this poetry collection, there is a small part of poems about love because of Mary and their kiss. Percy Shelley could create these poems. And now let's learn more about poet Shelley and his poetry collection. First, we need to know who Shelley is. Well, just like I said, he's an English poet who created plenty of famous poems. Here, I want to use three words to describe his poems. They're idealistic, lyric, and romantic. And later, I will explain more about that. Also, I think the main reason why Shelley can write these famous poems is his life through ups and downs. Actually, his poetry became famous and popular after his death. So that's so pitiful that he didn't get too much admiration when he was alive. So Shelley is a tragic poet because his life was short, and also, just like I said, his life through ups and downs. Yeah, and I think his life mainly contains love, sickness, and political revolt. In fact, Mary Shelley was his second wife, but though he met Mary Shelley, his life wasn't better than before. In this poetry collection, there is a poem for his kid, William Shelley. Because William's sister died, so Shelley cherished his kid and wrote the poem for him, but unfortunately, William also died. Compared with Shelley's sickness, his life was always depressing. He eventually left England and went to many places, like Italy and France. While he was in England, he made many friends who used their literature to criticize the society at the time as well. Also, the historical background brings impacts on his poems. Due to the war, Shelley resisted violence and added his opinion to his literature. At the time, English society was led by the capitalist class, and the working class was oppressed by the capitalist class. And men and women were not fair because women didn't have any rights, so there were too many injustices. Shelley thought this society was too corrupt, so he wrote many poems to accuse this society implicitly. Shelley's poetry criticized the aristocracy or the capitalist class and resisted to the politics. Several famous poets like Keats and Byron were similar to him in terms of the content and the main ideas of their poetry. So people grouped these poets who were able to capture the emotion and tenderness of men and called them the poets in the Romantic period. The poetry collection of Shelley shows his changed emotion and his thinking. Due to the historical background in his life, his poems would show these main things. First, against tyranny. One of his famous poems is Ozymandias, which shows the theme of against tyranny. I think he wrote this kind of poems is to express his dissatisfaction with English society and politics. Also, because of the society, he wanna have a better life, so lots of poems shows his demand demand for freedom, like the poem to a skylark. Actually, it not only shows the theme of freedom, but also shows the theme of nature. And other famous poems, such as Ode to the West Wind, is about nature. Shelley always used nature to show his thinking and emotion. Due to he had dreadful life, his works always expressed depressed emotion, but the poem Ode to the West Wind, which is his representative poem, shows his hope and positive attitude. At the end of the poem, he said, "If winter comes, can spring be far behind?" So actually, he also had optimism in his poems. Also, we know Shelley is a romantic and lyric poet, so he was good at writing love poems and poems about his life. Shelley liked to write odes. In this poetry collection, there are some representative poems such as Ode to the West Wind and Ode to the Liberty, and so on. These poems illustrate Shelley's opinion and make the poems can be easier to read. Also, he often uses rhyme, and one of the most frequent forms is the sonnet, like Ozymandias, England in 1819, and to Wordsworth. In Shelley's poetry, I found that he liked to use imagery to describe something or express his emotion. Especially, he uses nature frequently, like in the poem to the skylark. The skylark just means freedom. And also the famous quotation at the left corner. Here, winter just means the dark society, and spring means light and bright. Besides, Shelley liked using irony to illustrate his thinking, such as the poem Ozymandias. One of the reasons I consider he always used these figures of speech is because of the society. He can't directly express his negative criticism to society, or he would be arrested. In fact, Shelley wrote plenty of works, but due to this reason, he never posted some of work. So imagery and irony are the best way to show his thinking and help him have the courage to publish his literature. I chose two poems to show the use of irony and romanticism. This poem is written from the third point of view, which talks about a traveler who sees the former glorious statue that has become dilapidated. So the title Ozymandias has special significance because the story of Ozymandias, or we can see the content of the poem, shows the main theme. Ozymandias is the Greek name of Pharaoh Ramses II, but here it refers to the fragmentized statue of Ozymandias. During the reign of Ozymandias, Egypt frequently warred with its neighboring countries. Ozymandias liked to build construction and didn't care about his citizens and the country's safety. Due to the wars, social unrest occurred at the time, so though the statue was excellent and the buildings he remained in are stunning, now his statue is fragmentized. Thus, he is the symbol of the decay of despots and society. And using Ozymandias as the title can better help people to know what Shelley wanna express here in the poem's main theme. This poem is a sonnet. However, it isn't a formal patriarch sonnet because Shelley changed the rhyme slightly. The rhyme of normal sonnet is ABBA, ABBA, CED, but the rhyme of this poem is ABAB, ACDC, EDEFEF. Though it changed, we can see the form is still structured. I have said Shelley liked to use imagery, so we can also find some imagery in this poem. The most apparent one is the title. Just like I said, the decayed Ozymandias statue symbolized the social situation. However, I think it also suggests the King of England. At the time, King George IV reigned England, and in France, the leader was Napoleon. The two countries had wars, so Shelley thought they were violent and also oppressed their citizens, like Ozymandias. So, Shelley also used Ozymandias to represent tyranny to express his opinion in the theme of against tyranny. Also, in the poem, two vast and trunkless legs of stone shows the destroyed statue, which also symbolizes the decay of the glorious statue of the king. In this poem, Shelley used some alliteration, which are the underlined words. Cold and command, the hand and heart, boundless and bare, long and level, and the last one is sans and stretch. The alliteration not only makes the structure more clear, but also illustrates the tight connections. In addition, the poem uses synecdoche. The hind represents the sculptor and the heart represents the pharaoh. The two lines, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart fed, means though the sculptor, pharaoh, and the glorious statue disappeared, the emotion still remains. Here I believe the emotion which remains represents the oppressions from the pharaoh. So the two lines also show the oppressions and tyranny from the society and the countries. Finally, I think the most amazing part of this poem is irony. Shelley constructed the former glory and the present decay. In my opinion, Shelley should suggest though the capitalist class were enjoying the good life because the working class was working for them, one day they would decay just like Ozymandias' statue. So, in conclusion, this poem shows one of the main themes of Shelley's poetry collection is against tyranny.